Offensive playmakers from the Buffalo Bills helped a lot of fantasy football players win their championships in 2020. But how does the AFC East shake out for this upcoming season? Here with me to discuss SI's fantasy football analyst, Michael Fabiano. And Fabs, let's go through the AFC East. We're going to go through stud, dud, a sleeper, and a rookie. But let's start off with some good news. Who is your stud from the AFC East?
Yeah, I've got to go with Stefon Diggs. He's going to be the first player drafted out of that division last year. This was a player who was just unbelievably productive, led all wide receivers in catches, receiving yards, put up career bests in both categories. He was a top 5 fantasy wide receiver, and he's also one of only 3 receivers from last year to average over 20 points per game. The other two, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, that's pretty good company. Stefon Diggs likely to be a second-round pick in 2021.
And he played with an oblique, strained oblique or oblique tear, and he still was dominant last season. I'm expecting big things from him out of 2021 as well. Let's go to a dud from this division. AFC East, you got the Patriots, the Jets, the Dolphins. We already mentioned the Buffalo Bills, but is there any dud in this division that you're just staying away from?
Well, number one, I think every Patriot's going to be a dud. There's just too many mouths to
Oh,
feed. But let's go to South Beach and Will Fuller, who was tremendous last year. He averaged 17.2 fantasy points per game before he got suspended. But that was in Houston with Deshaun Watson throwing him the football. Now he's in Miami, where they already have Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki, and they drafted Jalen Waddle. There's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. Fuller's also going to be suspended for the first game of 2021. So if you think he's going to come back and average 17 points per game, Bill, you're going to be very disappointed. He is a more of a wide receiver 3 for me in 2021 drafts. Don't expect elite numbers like he was putting up before the suspension last season.
he'll also be suspended for week 1 of this upcoming season. Let's move over to a sleeper, Fabs. What are you looking at?
I'm going with a rookie here in Michael Carter. He rushed for more than 1,200 yards last year, 9 touchdowns, averaged 8 yards a carry for the North Carolina Tar Heels, also had 25 catches for 267 yards as a receiver. And let's look at the Jets' current depth chart at running back. Tevin Coleman, LaMichael Pirine, Ty Johnson. It's not very exciting. Now, I can see Tevin Coleman opening the season as the starter because he's going to know the offense, but I would suggest that Carter's going to end up being the best fantasy running back in New York because he's the most talented, he's the youngest, and he's the most versatile. So I think Carter could end up emerging as a potential flex starter during his rookie campaign.
Evan Coleman's battled some injuries the last couple of years. Maybe Carter's a guy that you hold and stash for midway through the season, and he learns that offense, like you mentioned, then takes over that starting job. Let's go to a rookie that you have your eyes on. There's a lot from this division. You just mentioned Michael Carter with the Jets, but that's not your favorite rookie from the AFC East. Who is it?
Well, Carter's certainly my favorite. Jalen Waddle is another player who's going to be drafted across the board from a fantasy football standpoint. Now, he didn't put up huge numbers at Alabama, but he was playing behind Henry Ruggs and Devontae Smith and Jerry Jeudy. Now he's reunited with Tua Tagovailoa. But much like Will Fuller, there's a lot of mouths to feed there in Miami, and I didn't even mention the running game with Myles Gaskin. So I feel like Waddle could be overdrafted in seasonal leagues. I don't see him as anything more than a wide receiver 4. I'm sure he'll be much better than that during the course of his career. Will Fuller's only on a 1-year contract with Miami. But I would temper expectations with Jalen Waddle, a very exciting player who could potentially put up some pretty good numbers on a week-to-week basis later in his career. I think this season, you're going to see some unreliable stats from the Alabama product.
Oh, so that's a rookie that you're actually going to maybe shy away from when it comes to fantasy drafts. Interesting. All right, we'll be breaking down all of the divisions. We have 7 more to go. Started off with the AFC East. We have 7 more to go. We'll finish out the AFC, then we'll switch over to the NFC, but we're breaking them all down from a fantasy football standpoint from Sports Illustrated. You can check it out. Go to si.com/fantasy.